A walking tour of San Diego's Balboa Park in 360-degree video. I'm Chris, this is Yellow Productions. I do travel guides that are fun, informative, and entertaining. This is part of my 360-degree walking tour series. If you want to see more 360-degree walking tour videos, you'll find the link in the description below. But in this video, I'm going to be taking you on a tour of Balboa Park. This park right here in San Diego. Balboa Park is the cultural heart of San Diego. Originally, this park was set aside in the late 1800s. It hosted the Panama Exposition in the early 1900s, and it's home to many museums, the San Diego Zoo. On my left, I'm going by the Rubin H. Fleet Science Museum, where they have like an IMAX theater. You can see space and all those sorts of things. You'll find street performers here. There's somebody to my left who is juggling. And by the way, this is a 360-degree video, so you don't just have to look at my face. You can spin this video around and look in every direction. So don't just look at me. Look to my right, look to my left. If you're looking at my feet, then look up. My feet are not that interesting. And so Balboa Park, if you are visiting San Diego, you really need to take a visit to Balboa Park. There's lots to do here. You could easily spend a whole day in this park. And being 1,200 acres, I'm not going to walk you through the whole park, but I'm going to walk you through this main walkway that I'm on. This is called El Prado. It's kind of the heart of Balboa Park, where the most museums are and the most dense attractions. And I was walking around a fountain earlier. The water from the fountain flows under this walk. To my right is the Natural History Museum. So they've got things like butterflies and dinosaurs and all that kind of stuff in there. One of my favorite museums in Balboa Park that we won't be checking out, because I won't be going into any of the museums with this camera, because most museums frown upon cameras, but it's the San Diego Model Railroad Museum. It is a whole museum dedicated to model railroads. I mean, that is just so cool. I love model railroads. And so as we go into the main part of El Prado, the buildings, as you look to the left and the right, on the right it's called Casa del Prado, and this is a Spanish colonial revival architecture. And maybe I mixed up the order of those words, but it is definitely Spanish. Balboa Park, named after a Spanish explorer. And here on my right, there's someone who will do face paintings. On my left, there's somebody who will do caricatures. You can get drawn awesomely funny. I'm here at about 5:30 in the evening. If you were here earlier in the day, midday, things like that, it would be considerably busier. I'm gonna take a walk off this main walkway and come under one of the buildings for a moment, because it's really neat to walk under here too. You can get away from the sun. It's cooler down here. And I mean, these are like neat historic archways, great places to take pictures. And of course, it's great to echo as well. The sound here is just very interesting. Of course, I'm talking a little less loud now that I'm in here, as opposed to in the middle where I was. Some of these things are home to semi-private clubs. There's like a gardening club and things like that that meet here in Balboa Park. Balboa Park is also home to a lot of special events, like San Diego's Earth Day is held here in Balboa Park. Popular place for people to come out and walk their dogs. On my right in that main building is the San Diego Botanical Garden Foundation and the San Diego Floral Association. On my right here, there's a booth doing hypnosis. You can get hypnotized by the psychic, or maybe get some henna tattoos. So now I'm walking up on this area right here in front of the Botanical Building. This is probably the quintessential spot to take pictures, right out in front of the Timken Museum of Art. But there's this pond right here in the middle of it, and this makes a great picture. By the way, that direction is looking away from me, so you can look into that pond. You can see lilies and ducks. I'm gonna go ahead and walk around it. There's some butterflies flying around. It's a very picturesque place. So let's see, there's a sign here that actually talks about this pond, and it says that in World War I, the U.S. Naval Training Station used the pond to teach rowing and swimming to new sailors. That is very interesting. So this pond has a long history. If you want to see more about its history, check out that sign next to the pond. I see ducks, I see lilies. I don't know that I see any koi fish or things like that. It's hard to see in there. I don't have my polarized glasses on, so it's hard to see underneath. But I think they probably don't like you wading and swimming in it any longer. You can hear the bells tolling. That tolls that it's 5:30. Some of these grassy areas on my right and left are really great places to have a picnic. You'll see people picnicking as we're walking around. Sometimes they show movies in the summer. And I'm just coming up on what I mentioned is the Botanical Building. And the sign says the Botanical Building is widely acclaimed as the most photographed spot in San Diego. So if you're ever wondering what the most photographed spot in San Diego is, well, now you know what it is. It's this Botanical Building to my right. And let's see, in this pond does have the koi fish. If you look down to my right or down to my left, you'll see about 5 or 6. On my left, you'll find someone playing a harp. Balboa Park is a popular place for musicians to come out and serenade the public. Doesn't cost any money, but I'm sure they'd appreciate a few tips if you do enjoy their music. People on the right that are picnicking, someone on the left who looks like they're reading or perhaps studying. Balboa Park has more than just that main fountain that we saw. There's another little fountain that I'm coming up on here. And on the left was the Timken Museum of Art. And then just ahead of me is the regular Museum of Art. The Museum of Art and a lot of these museums, in addition to the park holding special events, the museums hold their own special events, like special nights where they'll have entertainment and drinks and appetizers. Obviously, those are typically for fundraisers so that they can get more money, but it's a great way to see something different in the museum and experience Balboa Park at night. While most of the museums are just open in the day, the park itself doesn't really close, so you can pretty much walk through here any time of day. Most of the museums have an admission fee. That Timken Museum of Art, though, has free admission. And some museums have a different schedule for free admission, so you can check that out on the Balboa Park website and see if any of the free admission days are happening when you are here. So now we are kind of at the end of the main pedestrian part of El Prado. It comes up and there's another fountain right here. They put some tables out here. There's an El Prado restaurant, which is it's called the Prado Restaurant. It's a pretty high-end restaurant over in the buildings to my left with the big kind of like lookout tower. And just beyond that, further to the left, is the Organ Pavilion. It's one of the largest outdoor organs in the world. They perform that at certain times. It's pretty neat to see an organ performance if you're here. Let's see, we are walking by the other part of the San Diego Museum of Art. We can see this one's having a special event here, the Sculpture Court and Garden. And here's some artwork just on my left. What is this? This is art of the open air called Border Crossing. Obviously, San Diego being by the border, that might be how someone will cross the border. There's a restaurant here as well. So if you're hungry, there's not a lot of food here, but there are a couple of eating options, though none of them are going to be really cheap. So I would recommend, if you're looking for cheap eats, that you probably get some food before you arrive here. So I'm walking through another one of these arched walkways. And on my left outside there is the San Diego Art Institute. This is no longer the pedestrianized area, so cars can run along here, but they do have a plan to ultimately make it just pedestrian only, which it was when they first created it. that art museum on my right. There's some outdoor sculptures, and people are sitting out in the grass listening to some music as part of the special event. And through the middle of the park on the streets, there's someone riding an electric scooter. If you've watched some of my other 360-degree tours of San Diego, like my one on Mission Beach, you'll have seen these electric scooters. They're the Bird scooters and Lime bikes. They cost like $1 an hour to rent. If you are riding those around here, then only ride them on the streets because technically, since they're motorized, they're not legal on the sidewalks, though you probably won't get a ticket for it because there's just so many people doing it. They're still trying to figure that out, but just be aware that you're technically supposed to ride them on the streets since they're motorized. So now I'm walking up on the Old Globe Theater. This is an outdoor theater where they have a number of performances. When there's shows outside, they have drinks, and so there's two. The Old Globe is inside on the left, and then the Lowell Davis Festival Theater is outside on the right. So if you were coming to see a theater performance, this is where you would see it. And one that's playing, actually that just ended, was the Lorax. Classic Dr. Seuss thing. Balboa Park has lots of little gardens on my right. There's this little garden. There's this really neat tower to my right, as well as this dome that's right here. I mean, if you like architecture, you'll really enjoy just looking at all the buildings here. It is not boring like maybe the rest of downtown San Diego might be. So this museum that I'm walking by my right, this is the San Diego Museum of Man, and so this museum chronicles the history of man. So this is where you would see things a lot about Native American history. You would see mummies, all that sort of stuff. And so this sign here talks about the California Quadrangle. This is the original entrance to Balboa Park, built for the 1915 Panama, California Exposition. And so I was walking here, even though that was kind of a long, boring walkway before. I appreciate that you bared with it. Here on my right's the Museum of Man. You can see it's got these really ornate sculptures up in front of the front door. If you want to see them closer, come and check them out. And there's a cannibals display on the left. So the museum, a lot of these museums have multiple buildings as they've expanded. And if you're driving into Balboa Park, there's sort of two main ways. You can either come in on Park Boulevard, which is where I started this, by the Rubin H. Fleet Science Museum, or you can come in across this bridge. And this bridge is one of the coolest things about Balboa Park. This bridge goes over the 163 freeway. It's a really tall bridge. Just below me to the left, there's a sign that says Field Archery Range. I don't see anybody doing archery right now, but when I mentioned that Balboa Park is, that Botanical Building is one of the most photographed spots in San Diego, I mean, actually the whole park is really popular for taking photographs, and people love to take photographs of that quadrangle right there with the tower. There were some girls in the back that were taking some photos. But this part of the park now ends kind of the museum part of it. But if you were to cross this bridge all the way to the end, then it's a big grassy open area. It's really popular there for running, picnics, sporting type events. There will often be people doing like Tai Chi and yoga, playing Frisbee. Ultimate Frisbee is pretty popular there because it's a big grassy area, so that's what people like to do. There's a sign here that says this bridge is called the Cabrillo Bridge, and there's a landmark. It's a San Diego Historic Civil Engineering landmark because of this bridge. And so now, if you look down to my left, and it's a 360-degree video, so you can look down. I'm going to put this camera up here so you can see down to my left. You're looking down if you're not looking down. That is the 163 freeway. Just to my left, you can also see the buildings of downtown, and also to the left, you'll see a Southwest Airlines plane coming in. So this is a neat place just to stand and admire, though the traffic can be a little loud. This bridge is nicknamed Suicide Bridge, unfortunately, because people have jumped off this bridge onto the freeway down below. So they've actually put up kind of some fencing right here along the part that people would jump on. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you're planning a trip to San Diego, you might enjoy my other 360-degree videos on San Diego, like my Mission Beach Walk. I've also got a video on 10 things to know before you come to San Diego, so you can check that one out as well. You'll find the links in the description below, and I won't say goodbye because I'll see you over there in the next video.